या देवी स्तूयते नित्यं विबुधैर्वेदपारगैः सा मे वसति जिह्वाग्रे ब्रह्मरूपा सरस्वती। नमामि नारायणपादपङ्कजं करोमि नारायणपूजनं सदा वदामि नारायणनामनिर्मलं स्मरामि नारायणतत्त्वमव्ययम्. Invoking the grace of Goddess Saraswati, Mahaperiyava, Kuchugurayappan, another good parampara. We are now entering into Dasakam 11, verse number 7. We completed verse number 6 in the last session. Now moving on to the verse number 7. Tvadiya Bhrityavata Kashyapatau Surari Vira Vuditau Dvitau Dvau Sandhya Samutpadana Kashta Cheshtau Yamau Chalokasya Yamabhivanyau Tvadiya Bhrityavata Kashyapatau Surari Vira Vuditau Dvitau Dvau Sandhya Samutpadana Kashta Cheshtau Yamau Chalokasya Yamabhivanyau Atha Tau Tvadiya Bhrityau Kashyapat Ditau Dau Surari Virau Uditau Sandhya Samutpadana Kashta Cheshtau. Vipatti is like this: Sandhyayam Samutpadanena Kashta Cheshta Yayoho Tau Yamau Anyau Yamau Iva. So the Anbiya goes. Atha, then, Tau Tvadiya Bhrityau, thy two attendants, Kashyapat, from the sage Kashyapa, Ditau, through Diti, his wife, Dvau Surari Virau, as two powerful enemies of the gods, that means Asuras. Uditau, were born Sandhya Samutpadana Kashta Cheshtau. That means Sandhyayam Samutpadanena Kashtam Cheshta Yayotav. That means who were cruel in nature because of having been born during the evening twilight, means the Sandhya time, evening Sandhya, Sayam Sandhya. Yamau, the twins, Anyau Yamau Iva, were like two Yamas. So then Jaya and Vijaya were born as two Asuras to sage Kashyapa. To sage Kashyapa also. Kashyapa is the sage and his wife Diti. The twins were cruel and like two Yamas because having begotten during the evening twilight or Sandhya time. The Puranic stories goes like this. Diti, one of the wives of Kashyapa, became jealous of her co-wife Aditi, who had a large number of children, and approached Kashyapa at dusk. Aditi had, all the Devas were the sons of Aditi. So Diti approached Kashyapa at that Sandhya time, that is at the dusk, Sayam Sandhya, when he was about to perform his evening worship, instigating on his getting a child through her immediately. In fact, the story goes that Kashyapa was about to perform the evening Agrihotradi karmas. At that time, she intervened and prevented him from performing the Oma. And the time also was inauspicious. So, as it was an inauspicious time, and also she obstructed the Agnihotradi karmas, the sage tried his best to dissuade her, but doing so, but she was very adamant. Therefore, Kashyapa had to agree. So, from Kashyapa and Diti were born the Asuras. And these were the two Asuras. That's how the story goes here. So, these Asuras were born of Aditi. Diti, not Aditi. Aditi is the sons of Aditya Devas. Now, taking over from the previous slokas, in keeping with the curse of the rishis and also the case redeemed, and also the curse redeemed by Lord Bhagavan himself, they were born as sons of Diti and Kashyapa. Now they were born as asuras and as enemies of devas. Through Sambrambha Yoga, they were born as asuras because they said that they want to be enemies of the Lord. At the same time, they should remember the Lord at that time. So keeping in with the curse, they were born in this manner. So they were born at the inopportune time, at the wrong time, and asuras also indulged in destructive activities. Devas were more sattvic, asuras were rajasic and tamasic. Kashyapa, of course, was a rishi, was sattvic in nature, but Diti was again asuric because she was tamasic and rajasic. The tamasic and rajasic gunas gave birth to asuras. Since she created obstacles, it had a double impact in terms of getting sons at the wrong time with wrong gunas and wrong tendencies. Even in Sandhya time, it is implied here that during the Sandhya time we should think of God and do prayers and not indulge in materialistic activities, including procreation, etc., which can cause more harm and promote asuric or evil tendencies in the person. All these Purani stories are torchbearers for us in guiding us towards righteous living, and also they clearly highlight the harmful effects if one deviates from the right path. So such an incident is brought out here because the two sons were born at the wrong time. Although the Kashyapa was a rishi, he was forced to do a wrong action by Diti in terms of getting these two sons, who were, it is mentioned here, they are like two yamas because they indulged in a lot of destructive activities which caused harm to the world. So the Puranas also tell us that this achieving Sandhya time is meant for thinking of God and performing good acts. We'll move on to the verse number 8. Verse number 8. Hiranyapurva Kashipuh kilaikaha paro hiranyaksha iti pratitaha ubhau bhavannatamasheshalokam rusha nyarundham nijavasanandhau. Hiranyapurva Kashipuh kilaikaha paro hiranyaksha iti pratitaha ubhau bhavannatamasheshalokam rusha nyarundham nijavasanandhau. Anvaya is like this: Ekaha hiranyapurvaha kashipuhu kila. One was, the meaning of this, one was the Hiranyakashipu, then Paraha Hiranyakshaha iti pratitaha. The other was famous as Hiranyaksha. Ubhau nija vasanandhau. Both being blinded by their own vasanas, Rusha in anger. Bhavan natam asesha lokam. Asesha lokam, the whole world in which has thee as the Lord. Bhavan natam. Bhavan nataha yasyatam iti bhavan natam. Sasya lokam. Tam lokam is bhavan natam lokam. The whole world in which has thee as the Lord. Nyarundham, obstructed or tormented. One son was Hiranyakashipu, the other was famous as Hiranyaksha. Both of them being blinded by their own impressions of actions in past births, tormented the whole world of which thou art the Lord. This is the literal meaning of the verse. The word Hiranyakashipu literally means one who is clothed in gold. Kashipu means clothed in gold. Again means one who is fond of wealth and sensual comfort. Symbolically it means. Hiranyaksha also means one who is golden-eyed. Golden-eyed means one who eyed, symbolically means or targeted or focused on, again, gold-like things, which again symbolizes wealth and material comforts. So both are asuras. Therefore, they are called, their names also is in keeping with that, their asuric tendencies. They went after the material comforts and material worlds, and they started doing destructive activities. That's what I meant with Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. In fact, the word asura also has got another meaning. asushu rabate yasminiti asuraha. Anyone who indulges in sensual pleasures or sensual material comforts, asuraha means sensual pleasures, they are called asuras. So when a person leads a life of only pleasures, indulges in worldly things, and going after the lower order of realities in terms of only physical satisfaction, in terms of bodily comforts, sensual enjoyments, such persons are also called asuras. Asushu Rambate Yasmaniti. So only when we move out from the Arthakama and move out, then only we become Sura. A Sura is one. Sura is a one Deva, one who leads a dharmic life, a life in keeping with Dharma. This is an indication for us also. The word Asura is not only restricted to Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. When we also lead a life which is totally materialistic, not disrespecting the Dharma, leading a dharmic path, forgetting God, then we also are like Asuras. That's what the message is. Now it says that they were blinded by their own vasanas. Because of the vasanas, they could not see things objectively. And because like a blind person, they moved around in the world without a focused vision. So the Vidvesha Bhakti, which was there due to the Samrambha Yoga, the curse which they had, they said that although they were born as enemies of the Lord, but that it is still remembering the Lord all the time. So that's why the word Bhakti also we can say. So it's a Vidvesha Bhakti. So devotion propelled by hatred, because their objective was to come back to the Lord as soon as possible. So they said they wanted to cause maximum hardships to the world, so that Lord takes avatar and then redeem them from the clutches of the samsara. That's what it means here. So it indirectly means this causing hardship to the Lord. As we should understand here, they are very clearly aware that the world belongs to the Lord. They are fully aware of that. Jagat is Ishvara, they are aware, because they were the sentries of the Lord. So they had remembrance of their life experience in Vaikuntha. So they said they were remembering the Lord. So they knew that the world is Lord, and therefore logically they should not cause himsa to the Lord, but still they caused because their objective was to go back to the Lord. So the bhakti was there, but it was a vidvesha bhakti, an enmity, total enmity to the Lord, which will cause Lord to take avatar and take them back to Vaikuntha. That is the meaning here. Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, they had all the attributes, like they had the virya, the valor, the shauryam, the braveness, the bhalam, the strength, the buddhi, the intelligence. Hence, they were having absolutely all these strengths or all these attributes, all these prowess, which made them fearless. They had no fear at all. So the ahankara in them blossomed, and it inspired them to perform more and more asuric or demonic activities, which are totally tamasic, destructive, and also causes agitations or sorrows, so rajasic in nature. And that is how it is mentioned here, that they blinded by their own actions, they tormented the whole world, the world which belonged to the Lord. This is how the verse number 8 concludes. We will go on to the verse number 9 in the next session. Bhave yada bhaktihi padayosta padayade tada kurushva devesha natastam no yada prabhu nama sankirtanam yasya sarva baba nasanam pranamo dukkha samanam tam namami harim param narayana akelo guru bhagavan namaste hariyo ya devi stuyade nityam vibhudair veda paragaihi same vasatu jighvagre brahmarupa saraswati namami narayana padapankajam karomi narayana pujanam sada vadami narayana namadharmalam smarami narayana tattamabhyayam. Invoking the grace of God Saraswati, Guru Ayyappan, Mahapriyava and Guru Parampara, we are now on Dasaka 11, entering into verse number 9. Tayor hiranyaksha mahasurendro ranaya dhavan anavapta vairi bhavat priyam kshmam salile nimajya Chachara garvad vinadan gadavan Tayor hiranyaksha mahasurendro Ranaya dhavan anavapta vairi Bhavat priyam kshmam salile nimajya Chachara garvad vinadan gadavan Tayoho hiranyaksha mahasurendra Ranaya dhavan anavapta vairi Bhavat priyam kshmam salile nimajya garvat vinadan gadavan chachara. This is how the Anvaya is. Tayoho, of them, Hiranyaksha Mahasurendra, the great Asura leader Hiranyaksha. Ranaya Dhavan, seeking a fight. Anavapta Vairi, not getting any opponent who was prepared to fight. Bhavat Priyam, Kshmam, the earth, which is dear to thee. Salile Nimajya, immersing in water. Garvat Binadan, roaring in arrogance. Gadavan Chachara, roamed about carrying a mace. The two were born, we saw earlier, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakasipu. In fact, Hiranyakasipu was the first conceived in the Garbha of Diti. Thereafter, Hiranyaksha was conceived. So, but Hiranyaksha came out first, last in first out, we say. So therefore, Hiranyaksha is the younger brother and Hiranyakasipu is the elder brother who came later. Hiranyaksha, it is mentioned here, the great Asura leader, because he was born as Asura is the curse. He came out, he wanted to fight and claim himself as the supreme Asura or the supreme leader of the entire universe. And therefore he went on to the earth. He was looking out for an enemy who could fight with him. He could not get any enemies equivalent to him. That's what mentioned here. Because he had extraordinary mortal powers. And he knew that only Bhagavan can slay him, can kill him as per the curse. That was mentioned earlier also. So he was recollecting also the curse in his mind. So he was hunting for a person who could fight with him. Since he could not get an equivalent element, what he did was he immersed the earth. The earth is, the Bhuma Devi is also the wife of the Lord. Thinking that when the wife of the Lord is immersed in water, the Lord would come out and fight with him. That's what symbolically it represents here. It is implied here also. Now, the Hiranyaksha's mood also is brought out here. The Ahankara is extreme. He was roaring in arrogance, unmitigated pride. That's what one can say. So, although Ahankara is destructive, here it is a means for attaining the feet of the Lord, which we should understand here. So with Bhagavan's Smarana, Chinta of the Smarana, he was talking about chanting he was roaring with the name of the Lord Narayan, looking for him, with complete Ahankara. And also there is a hatred born of Ahankara. So with Bhagavan's Smarana, there is complete Ahankara is there, and also there is hatred born of Ahankara. Both are two contradictory expressions. First is called the Vidvesha Yoga, we saw here, the yoga in the sense that remembering the name of the Lord. And second is only Vidvesha, where there is only hatred. When you hatred is with the name of the Lord, it becomes a yoga because it is a means for uniting. That's what we could see here. So Ahankara steeped in Bhagavan's Smarana becomes a sadhana or a means for Bhagavan's darshanam. That's what is implied here. And liberation through the hands of the Lord. So this aspect of Ahankara is portrayed in this episode. Mace, incidentally, is one of the weapons of the Lord, which he was holding with him. This also signified here, means the Lord finally took the mace back from him after killing him. That comes later. So the Hiranyaksha, the devotee of the Lord, in fact, born as a result of the curse of the rishis and the Lord, wanted to get himself liberated, and therefore was looking for the Lord in the earth. That's how this verse goes around. We'll go into the next verse number 10. Tato jaleshad sadrisham bhavantam nishamya babhrama gabeshayam stvam bhaktaikadrishya sakripa nidhetvam nirundi rogan marudalayesha. Tataha jaleshat bhavantam sadrisham nishamya tvam gaveshayan babhrama kripanite marudalayesha. He kripanite. That's how the Anvaya goes. Bhaktaika drishyaha saha tvam rogan nirundi. This is the second line. I will read once more. Tato jaleshat sadrisham bhavantam nishamya babhrama gaveshayam stvam bhaktaika drishya sakripa nidhetvam nirundi rogan marudalayesha. Tataha, then, jaleshat, from the Lord of the waters, that is Varuna, there is a Lord of waters, that is implied here. Jaleshat, jalaha, jalasisha. Bhavantam, the sadrisham nishamya, hearing as equal to him. Tvam gaveshayan, searching for thee. Babhrama, roamed about. He kripanide, marudalayesha, O abode of compassion, Lord of Guruvayur. Bhaktaika drishyaha, who can be seen only by devotees. Saha tvam, that thou. Rogan nirundi, deign or extend your grace to eradicate my ailments. The meaning will come like this. Then coming to know from Varuna that thou alone, you are alone, a proper match for him. Hiranyaksha roamed about searching for thee or you, O abode of compassion, Lord of Guruvayur, who can be attained only by devotees. Deign or extend your grace to eradicate me totally of my ailments. That's how the verse goes. Simple verse here. Now when Hiranyaksha could not get the enemy equivalent to him, he entered the residence of Varuna. The name is called Vibhavari, is the name, somewhere else it's mentioned, not here in Narayanyam. Now he considered that since he could not get enemies elsewhere, he met Varuna, who is of course the Lord of the waters. He wrongly considered Varuna Bhagavan as his equivalent, and then had confrontation with Varuna. Varuna Bhagavan then informed him that he cannot fight with him, as Mahavishnu is his equal opponent, whom he is looking for, and therefore he is the equal opponent enemy. By fighting with him, he is not going to achieve what he wants to do. Therefore he told him that I do not want to fight with you. Your enemy is Mahavishnu, therefore look for him. This is how the verse says. So again he roamed about searching for you, because he wanted to fight with you and gain moksha. That's how the verse goes. Now symbolically also you have to understand a few more things here. Although Hiranyaksha was caught with anger, he was searching for Lord with devotion. Hence, Lord was all merciful and later liberated him. Symbolically, it could be also seen that Hiranyaksha immersed the earth in the ocean of grace. And since he could not find a place there, it is mentioned that the water was only up to the knee level. So, he could not get himself immersed in that water. He entered the Varuna's residence, which symbolizes the compassion of Lord. So, through the compassion of Lord, he wanted to look for the God in the ocean of grace. And the Lord, with his total grace, liberated him from the earth, got him back to Vaikuntha in spite of his arrogance. This is how the symbolic it means. So he gave him the moksha thereafter later. That's how it is mentioned here. But also invoking that compassion of the Lord, offered his prayer to the Lord, saying that, like you liberated Hiranyaksha, who had all asuric qualities and who was totally looking for you to get back to him, you also, I am chanting your name. Therefore, you give me the same compassion, or if not more compassion, totally, to eradicate me totally of all my ailments. The word Nirundirogan is repeated here also. We would have seen this also at the end of Dasaka 10. The word symbolizes Nirundi means totally. I should not totally relieve me of all the bodily and all mental ailments. Rogan. That is repeated here also. So in this way, the verse, this Dasaka ends. And we will be going to Dasaka 12, where the Lord will be taking the Varaha Avatara. There will be Varnana of Varaha Avatara, and then Lord will be liberating the Bhumi. Bhumi is here the symbolically Bhumi is the Devi, is the wife of the Lord. So Bhumi Uddharana Varnancha. So two things are going to take place in Dasaka 12, Varaha Avatar Varnana and also Bhumi Uddharana Varnanam. Both will be taking place in the next Dasaka 12, which will take up in the next session. Bhave Bhave Yata Bhakti Padayostava Jayade Tada Kurusha Devesha Natastam Noyata Prabhu Nama Sankirtan Vyasya Sarva Papa Pranasanam Pranamo Dukka Samanaha Tam Namami Harimbaram Narayana Akila Guru Bhagwan Namaste Hari Om.
Radhe Krishna. Gopika Jivana Smaranam Govinda Govinda. Chanting of the 11th Dashakam of Narayaniyam. Kramena Sarge Parivardhamane Kadapi Divyah Sanakadayaste Bhavadvilokaya Vikuntalokam Prabhedire Marutamandiresha Manogyanai Shreyasa Kananadhyaihi Anekavapi Manimandiraischa Anopamam Tam Bhavato Niketam Munishwarah Prapuratita Kakshyah Bhavad Didrikshon Bhavanam Vivikshon Dvasthau Jayasthan Vijayopyarundham Tesham cha chitte padamapakopah Sarvam bhavat prerana yaiva bhuman Vaikuntalokhanuchita pracheshtau Kashtau yuvam daityagatim bhajetam Iti prashapthau bhavadashrayauthau Harismitirno stviti nematusthan Tadaitathagnaya bhavanavaptaha Sahaiva lakshmya bahiram bhujaksha Khageshwaram sarpita charubahuho Anandayam stham abhirama murtya Prasadhya ghirbe suvato munindran Ananyanatha vataparshadhau tau Samramba yogena bhavaistribhirbham Upetamityan tatkritam nyagadihi Upetamityat takripam nyagadihi Twadhiya bhritya vatha kashyapatthau Surari Vira Uditau Ditau Dhvau Sandhya Samutpadana Kashta Cheshtau Yamau Chalokasya Yama Vivanyau Hiranyapurvah Kashipuh Kilaikaha Paro Hiranyaksha Iti Pratitaha Ubhau Bhavannatamasheshalokam Rusha nirundham nijavasanandhau Tayor hiranyaksha mahasurendro ranaya dhavan nanavapta vairi Bhavat priyam shmam salile nimajya Chachara garvad vinadhan gatavan Tathau jaleshat sadrisham bhavantam Nishamya bhabhrama ghaveshayam stvam Bhaktaikadrishyasa kripanidhe tvam Nirundirogan marudalayesha Shri Hare Namaha Gopika Jivanasmaranam Govinda Govinda Radhe Krishna.
या देवी स्तूयते नित्यं विबुधैर्वेदपारगैः सा मे वसति जिह्वाग्रे ब्रह्मरूपा सरस्वती। नमामि नारायणपादपङ्कजं करोमि नारायणपूजनं सदा वदामि नारायणनामनिर्मलं स्मरामि नारायणतत्त्वमव्ययम्. Invoking the grace of Goddess Saraswati, Mahaperiyava, Kuchugurayappan, another good parampara. We are now entering into Dasakam 11, verse number 7. We completed verse number